Discussion this morning, Texas Congressman Dr. Michael Burgess, thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, happy March, happy Texas Independence Day. Off to a great start.
Yeah.
Let's begin with that testimony from Michael Cohen, your reaction to it.
Look, can I just say this about that entire process? I can remember a time when in this country the politics stopped at the water's edge. Robert Mueller said he would not release any part of his report the week that the president is over trying to negotiate an end to the longest war that this country has ever been involved in. I don't understand why that committee would go ahead with that hearing at a time that the president is in Hanoi, North Vietnam, negotiating with the leader of North Korea for an end to the Korean War, a war that started before I was born. That's how long this country has been involved in that war. That was tremendously important work that the president was doing. We should have put our politics aside for 1 week.
Having said that, are you at all concerned with anything Mr. Cohen said during that hearing?
Look, if you were inclined to not like the president before that hearing, you still don't like the president. If you were inclined to support the president, you still support the president. The needle of public opinion was not moved, in my opinion.
What about for you, though? Did you hear anything?
No, there was no collusion. So what have we been doing for the last 2 years? I would ask that question.
What about the payments to Stormy Daniels and the potential campaign finance violations? Or
I don't think there were any, campaign finance violations when they occur. I mean, obviously President Obama's campaign had some campaign finance violations. Those are civil issues that are settled through the Federal Elections Commission. As far as the other stuff, look, people knew when they accepted President Trump, just as when they accepted President Clinton. There's some things in the past that, maybe I would hope I would not do myself, but on the leadership qualities, we're willing to accept what has gone on in the past and look at the track record that the president then has accomplished. Look, I remember a time when everyone would talk about, we got to rebuild the middle class. We're focused on the middle class. President Trump has rebuilt the middle class over the last 2 years. Middle class is doing better now than at any time in recent memory.
So nothing you heard last week from Mr. Cohen concerns you? Nothing?
Look, I was concerned that they were even doing the hearing while the president was over trying to end the war in Korea. I thought that was a big deal. The president is willing to take some risks on some things. He has, certainly there was nothing that would compel him to be involved in North Korea other than the fact that, oh yeah, we face the possibility of nuclear annihilation, and he appropriately focused his attention on that. In 18 months ago, when we had this discussion, we were probably talking about the possibility of having to intercept a missile on the launch pad in North Korea, violating their airspace, thereby aggravating or being an incendiary concept for a nuclear war. That's not happening anymore. That's a huge difference in the last 18 months, and President Trump gets credit for that.
What do you think about this trip to Vietnam and the summit with Kim Jung Un? They did not come to an agreement, but do you believe anything was accomplished and that they're moving forward?
Oh, yeah. And the fact that they agreed to, number one, I think it's perfectly okay that the president said, you're not getting to where I need you to get for us to get this deal done. So it's Reagan at Reykjavik. No deal is better than a bad deal. But they left the door open for future discussions and future negotiations. This is an important... Look, this may be one of the most important things that is going on because, again, 18 months ago, we were talking about the ability of a nuclear-tipped warhead to hit the west coast of the United States, launched from North Korea. That was a big deal.
What do you think about the president's relationship with the North Korean dictator? He says he takes him at his word with all kinds of situations, including, the hostage who came back near death and eventually died. Should he be taking the word?
I don't know what is, obviously I can't get inside what was going on as far as a negotiating tactic, but look, pretty clear the fact that Otto Wambier's parents brought a case in federal court. The North Korean government was found liable for the damage to their son. I do not understand why, when Otto Wambier was detained, that this country was not more aggressive about getting his release. I don't know why, when Otto Warmbier was sentenced to 15 years in prison, why this country was not more aggressive about securing his release. But I would need to point out to you that both of those things happened before Donald Trump was inaugurated.
Okay.
Moving forward, let's talk a little bit about what was passed this week in Congress, universal background checks. Your reaction to that?
Well, I don't think, as I studied the issue, as it came through the Rules Committee and on the floor of the House, one of the things that was concerning me is, are we doing something that is actually going to make a difference, or are we doing something that makes Congress feel like they've shown some activity in this regard? And really, it was more about showing activity than really accomplishing anything. I did think it was interesting how, on just basically a procedural vote after the first bill passed, Democrats actually sided with Republicans that, well, yeah, maybe we should report to ICE those people who've actually purchased a firearm in this country who weren't legally allowed to be here. All right, that's an important concept. But in general, once again, have things changed in any substantial way? I doubt this is going to see the light of day in the Senate. I doubt it would be signed by the president if it were to make it to his desk. I think there is a lot of discussion that is still can be had in this space. I don't think these bills passed this week really moved the needle or accomplished what they set out to do.
And in the 30 seconds we have left, and I hate to do this to you, but be as brief as possible, do you really believe there's a national emergency on the southern border?
I think the president's using the tools at his disposal. Yes, I personally do. As a border state citizen, I've been down to the border several times. I think the president's appropriately focused on the lower Rio Grande Valley sector where the majority of the illegal crossings are occurring. So yes, I do agree. But I also recognize the president is using the tools at his disposal, just as he used the tariff tools to negotiate with China. He's using what he has available to him.
And you're giving up the power of the purse strings.
No, wait. If we want to change the law, let's go back and change the law. This is a law that was passed in 1977. The tariff law was passed in 1972 by Democratic Congresses and gave that power to the president. If we want to have that discussion, please, let's have that discussion. But if the president has the tool available to him in the law that was passed by Congress, he should use it.
Last time I'm saying this, you correctly predicted the 2016 election on this show. We're even now.
I appreciate the acknowledgement of my ability to prognosticate. Yes, sir.
Yes, now every time I see you, you won't say, tell Gromer. All right, thank you so much for joining us, Congressman.